It was a quiet morning in November 2022 on the coast of Nassau in the Bahamas. The storm had just passed. The sea was calm. Sunlight broke through the clouds, landing on a seaside villa surrounded by flashing lights and reporters. Police cars lined the street, and in the middle of it all, a young man with messy hair and a blank stare was led out of his house in handcuffs. His name was Sam Bankman-Fried. He was only 30 years old. Just months earlier, he'd been one of the world's youngest billionaires, founder of FTX, the most popular crypto exchange on Earth. He was called the savior of crypto. At his peak, his fortune exceeded $26 billion. He was praised as the Steve Jobs of crypto, a darling of Wall Street and Washington alike. But now, cameras captured a very different image: a wrinkled t-shirt, vacant eyes, and a man who suddenly looked very small against the weight of his empire. Some said this moment marked the collapse of the crypto world. Others called it just another cycle of greed and illusion. FTX's bankruptcy wiped out billions overnight. Hundreds of thousands of investors lost everything. It became known as the Enron of crypto, or as some journalists wrote, the Lehman Brothers of the blockchain. But the question remains: how did this happen? How did a man who claimed he wanted to fix the financial system end up being accused of one of the biggest frauds in modern history? This story isn't just about crypto, it's about trust, illusion, and human nature. Flashback. The year was 2017. The world of crypto was still small, filled with geeks, dreamers, and a few gamblers. At the time, Sam had just graduated from MIT. He worked at a quantitative trading firm called Jane Street, one of the most elite in the world. He wasn't the kind of trader who shouted across a room. He was quiet, analytical, and entirely absorbed in numbers. His colleagues said, "Sam doesn't trade the market, he calculates the universe." He could monitor 10 screens at once, spotting tiny price differences across global markets and exploiting them in milliseconds. One day, he noticed something strange. The price of Bitcoin in Japan was about 5% higher than in the United States. It was the same digital coin, but two very different prices. Back then, crypto markets weren't connected, so he saw an opportunity. He set up a small team, buying Bitcoin cheap in the US, transferring it to Japan, and selling it higher. Within months, he made millions of dollars. The trade became famous. It was known as the kimchi trade. That was the moment Sam realized crypto wasn't a scam, it was chaos, and chaos meant opportunity. He also realized something deeper. This market had no rules, no regulators, and no limits. It was a modern-day Wild West, and he wanted to be its richest outlaw. So he left Wall Street and founded his own company, Alameda Research. Officially, Alameda was a trading firm. In reality, it was a high-speed money machine. Sam used algorithms, leverage, and arbitrage to turn small imbalances into huge profits. But soon, profit alone wasn't enough. He wanted influence. He wanted to build a system. He needed a stage, and that stage would be called FTX. In 2019, Sam created the FTX crypto exchange. To understand what made it special, let's break it down simply. A crypto exchange is like a stockbroker, but instead of trading company shares, users trade digital coins like Bitcoin or Ethereum. FTX let users buy, sell, and store those coins, but it went a step further. It let people bet on the future. Traders could borrow money called leverage to multiply their bets. With just $100, you could control $1,000 worth of crypto. If prices rose, you'd make 10 times more. If they fell, you'd lose everything instantly. This high-risk, high-reward system attracted professional traders around the world. Sam marketed it with the slogan, "By traders, for traders, but on Wall Street." That phrase often has another meaning. We know what gamblers want, and we built the casino. Sam had something rare for a math genius: a gift for storytelling. He didn't just sell tokens, he sold belief. He told the world he followed a philosophy called effective altruism, the idea that the best way to help people is to make as much money as possible, then give it all away. He wore baggy t-shirts, old shorts, and never combed his hair. He ate vegan burritos at his desk and slept beside his computer. In an industry full of suits and Lamborghinis, his messy honesty made him seem pure. The media adored him. Forbes, Fortune, Bloomberg, they all called him the future of finance. He met presidents, donated to politicians, and built influence in Washington. He was seen as the man who would make crypto legitimate. And that was the moment the illusion began to take hold. Behind the scenes, the truth was far less noble. FTX was supposed to be a neutral platform where customers' money was safe, untouched, and ready for trading. But Sam also controlled Alameda Research, the trading firm he'd founded earlier. The two companies were supposed to be separate. In reality, they were one and the same. When customers deposited money into FTX, those funds quietly flowed into Alameda, where they were used for risky bets, investments, and political donations. Sam was gambling with other people's money and no one knew. Every transaction, every sponsorship, every celebrity ad was paid for by the trust of millions of users. Cut to 2022, FC's valuation hit $32 billion. Sam was on magazine covers, praised as the next Warren Buffett, and now he began saving others. When smaller crypto firms started collapsing, Sam stepped in, offering to buy or rescue them with FTX money. He said, "If I don't act, the entire crypto world could fall apart," and the media loved him for it. They called him the White Knight of crypto, but there was one fatal problem. The money he was using to save others wasn't his, it was their money belonging to FTX customers. His empire looked solid, but it was built on air, a financial illusion held together by confidence and charisma, until one day, someone asked the simplest question: does FTX really have the money it claims? It all began with a leak, a simple spreadsheet, no explosions, no headlines, just a quiet whisper that spread like fire through the crypto world. On November 2, 2022, the news site CoinDesk published a story. It revealed the internal balance sheet of Alameda Research, Sam's private trading firm. At first glance, it looked impressive, billions in assets. But when people looked closer, they saw something terrifying. Most of Alameda's balance sheet wasn't real cash or stable investments, it was EFT, a digital token created by FTX itself. Think about that for a moment. FTX printed its own coin, called EFT, and then Alameda used that same coin as collateral, as if monopoly money could back a real loan. It was a financial mirror maze. FTX said, "We're rich because Alameda owns our token." Alameda said, "We're rich because our tokens come from FTX." It was money looping endlessly between two hands until someone turned on the lights. Investors started asking questions. How much of this is real? Can FTX actually pay its customers if they all withdraw? And then came the spark. CZ, the CEO of Binance, FTX's biggest rival and once Sam's early investor, posted a tweet. He said Binance would sell all its holdings of EFT worth over $500 million. He wrote calmly, "Due to recent revelations, we've decided to liquidate our remaining EFT." That one tweet was like shouting fire in a crowded theater. Within hours, panic swept through the market. Traders rushed to withdraw their money from FTX. Billions of dollars flooded out in a single day. What had been a trusted fortress suddenly looked like a burning house. And Sam, the man who once saved others, was now begging to be saved himself. He tweeted, "FTX is fine. Assets are fine, but the blockchain doesn't lie." On-chain data showed wallets emptying, withdrawals freezing, transfers halting mid-transaction. The empire was bleeding out in real time. Inside FTX headquarters in the Bahamas, chaos took over. Employees stared at their screens in disbelief. Some tried to reassure customers. Others quietly deleted messages. A few whispered, "We're finished." Sam was on the phone day and night, calling every investor, every contact in Washington and Silicon Valley. He begged for help, no one answered. Then, in a surreal twist, CZ, the very man whose tweet triggered the run, offered to buy FTX. The announcement shook the internet. Two giants, once allies, now locked in a desperate deal. CZ said he'd step in to protect customers. For one brief moment, it looked like FTX might survive, but within 24 hours, Binance walked away. After seeing FC's internal books, CZ tweeted, "The issues are beyond our control or ability to help." Translation: the hole was too big. That hole was $8 billion deep. Customer deposits gone. Alameda's risky bets failed. The value of EFT collapsing to zero. It was a slow-motion implosion. In just a few days, FTX went from the world's second-largest crypto exchange to total bankruptcy. Investors who once worshipped Sam now demanded his arrest. The crypto messiah had become the villain of the story, but to understand the full scope of what happened, we need to step inside the heart of the illusion to the hidden connection between FTX and Alameda. You see, Alameda was constantly losing money from bad trades. Instead of admitting it, they quietly borrowed billions from FTX customer accounts, money that users thought was safely stored. Sam justified it to himself as temporary liquidity. He told his team it was just moving funds around, but it wasn't. It was stealing, wrapped in self-deception. Every time Alameda lost money, FTX users unknowingly paid for it. And as long as no one withdrew, the secret stayed buried. For a while it worked. The illusion was perfect. FC sponsorships appeared everywhere. The Miami Heat's arena bore its name. Tom Brady and Larry David appeared in commercials. Venture capital firms like Sequoia poured in hundreds of millions. Sequoia even published a glowing profile describing Sam as a visionary who might build the first trillion-dollar company. They later deleted it, but behind the glowing screens, the walls were crumbling. When the crash finally hit, Sam's empire disintegrated in 72 hours. Billions of dollars vanished. Some users lost life savings, others lost trust in the entire crypto world. Sam kept tweeting until the very end, insisting it was all a liquidity issue, not fraud. But soon, he had no more words left. He boarded a private jet back to the Bahamas, where investigators were already waiting. The king of crypto was cornered, and the illusion that had dazzled the world had finally shattered. The rise of Sam Bankman-Fried was not driven by innovation, it was driven by trust. A word so simple, yet so powerful, that it built an empire faster than any marketing campaign could. By 2021, FTX wasn't just another crypto exchange. It was the exchange. The name appeared everywhere on stadiums, jerseys, Super Bowl ads. FTX became the brand for the new generation of investors. Clean, sharp, progressive. Sam, with his mop of messy curls and cargo shorts, became its face, the boy genius who promised to make crypto safe, transparent, and ethical. Reporters adored him. Politicians wanted to meet him. He spoke softly, avoided confrontation, and seemed almost uncomfortable in luxury. He wasn't like the arrogant bankers of Wall Street. He was different, at least, that's what everyone believed. Behind the scenes, Sam was running two entities. FTX, the crypto exchange where millions traded their money daily, and Alameda Research, his private hedge fund, supposedly independent. But in truth, the line between the two was blurred, almost invisible. Funds flowed between them like water, customer money, investment funds, loans, collateral, all moving through hidden channels few understood. When investors asked questions, Sam's explanations were vague but convincing. He spoke in complex jargon, cross-collateralized positions, synthetic hedging, effective altruism, capital flow. Few could challenge him because few understood him, and yet the empire kept growing. By late 2021, FTX was valued at $32 billion. Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen, Steph Curry all became ambassadors. FTX bought the naming rights to the Miami Heat arena for $135 million. Sam's company moved its headquarters to the Bahamas, where regulations were lighter and the view was paradise. Investors saw it as a bold move, a global step. Insiders knew it as something else, a way to operate beyond reach. At the same time, Sam cultivated a moral image through a philosophy known as effective altruism, the idea that one should earn as much as possible, only to give most of it away. He promised to donate billions to charity, cure malaria, fight climate change, and save the world. He talked about ethics in every interview, sometimes barefoot, eating vegan food, sitting cross-legged in front of billionaires. To many, it looked authentic. To a few, it looked like armor, moral protection built from words. In the Bahamas, life was surreal. FTX executives lived together in a luxury penthouse worth $40 million, sharing not just profits, but personal relationships and secrets. Alameda's CEO, Caroline Ellison, was part of that world, a math prodigy from MIT, quiet and loyal. She believed in Sam's vision that FTX was not just a company, but a movement. But numbers don't lie forever. In early 2022, cracks began to appear in the crypto world. Bitcoin dropped from $60,000 to under $30,000. Investors panicked. Companies that had borrowed heavily in crypto started collapsing. Terra, Celsius, Voyager. Each failure sent shockwaves through the market, draining liquidity and shaking confidence.
FTX, however, stood tall.
Sam appeared calm, even heroic, tweeting that he would help bail out other firms. FTX is fine, he wrote. We have enough to cover all client holdings. People believed him again. But what they didn't know was that behind those confident words, FTX was already burning. Customer deposits, supposedly safe, had been secretly funneled to Alameda to cover its massive trading losses. The hole was widening. Billions of dollars were missing, hidden under layers of accounting magic. And yet, Sam smiled in every interview. He talked about long-term visions, blockchain innovation, and philanthropy. He was still the good billionaire, still the golden boy who could do no wrong. But in the world of finance, as history has proven again and again, Edu Jones don't last forever. All it takes is one truth, one spark, to bring down an empire built on lies. And that spark was about to appear. It began quietly, not with an explosion, but with a single article. On November 2nd, 2022, the news outlet CoinDesk published a report that would shake the entire crypto world. The headline looked harmless at first glance, but inside it was dynamite. It revealed something shocking. Alameda Research's balance sheet, supposedly independent from FTX, was built largely on a digital token created by FTX itself. In simple terms, Alameda's billions in assets weren't real money. They were backed by a token whose value depended entirely on the company's own promise. It was as if a bank declared it was solvent because it printed its own currency and called it profit. The market froze. Investors began to whisper,
If Alameda falls, will FTX fall with it? Then came the thunder.
The CEO of Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange and one of FTX's biggest early investors, announced that Binance would sell all of its holdings of FTT, citing recent revelations.
That single tweet set off a chain reaction. Within hours, panic spread across social media. Investors began withdrawing money from FTX, fearing it could collapse just like Terra or Celsius. But FTX wasn't ready. In fact, it didn't have the money. A run had begun. In just 72 hours, customers tried to pull out $6 billion. FC's systems choked. Withdrawals slowed, then stopped. Sam, who had always been active on Twitter, went silent. Inside FC's offices in the Bahamas, chaos erupted. Employees stared at screens filled with red numbers. Phone lines buzzed. Bank transfers failed. There was no liquidity, no plan. Caroline Ellison sent desperate messages to lenders, pleading for time. Sam reached out to investors, hoping for a bailout. Even CZ, the man who had started the storm, was asked to help. For a brief moment, Binance agreed to step in. CZ tweeted that his company had signed a non-binding letter of intent to acquire FTX and save its customers. The crypto world sighed in relief for about 24 hours. Then Binance backed out after reviewing FC's financials. CZ posted, "The issues are beyond our control or ability to help." Translation: FTX was finished in less than a week. Sam Bankman-Fried's $32 billion empire was gone. On November 11, 2022, FTX filed for bankruptcy. Billions of dollars in customer funds had vanished. Hundreds of thousands of investors were locked out of their accounts. The Bahamas authorities froze assets. Sam resigned as CEO. The crypto industry went into freefall. Prices of Bitcoin and Ethereum plunged overnight. Confidence, the foundation of the digital economy, shattered. That same night, someone noticed something strange. Massive amounts of cryptocurrency were leaving FTX's wallets, hundreds of millions of dollars in what appeared to be an unauthorized transfer. Hack? Inside job? No one knew. All that remained was confusion, anger, and disbelief. On Twitter, Sam finally broke his silence. His message was short: "I'm sorry. I effed up." But for millions who lost their savings, sorry wasn't enough. In the days that followed, journalists and investigators descended on the Bahamas. What they uncovered was worse than anyone imagined. FTX had used customer deposits, money that was supposed to be kept safe, to fund Alameda's risky trades, real estate purchases, political donations, and luxury lifestyles. A $40 million penthouse, $100 million in property, and tens of millions in political contributions, all financed by user funds. Forensic accountants later discovered that FTX kept virtually no records of its internal finances. There were no proper accounting systems, no board of directors, no controls. Billions were moved through hidden spreadsheets and private chats. It was a financial house of cards built on trust, marketing, and moral language, and it had finally collapsed. And the man once hailed as the crypto king was now being called the Bernie Madoff of the digital age. By December 2022, Sam Bankman-Fried's world had shrunk to a single dimension: legal scrutiny. From the penthouse suites of the Bahamas to the courthouse in Manhattan, the fall from global celebrity to defendant was astonishing. For years, Sam had been portrayed as the boy genius of crypto, a visionary who lived by altruistic principles, a man who cared about the world more than money. But behind closed doors, the story was far darker. Investigators discovered a labyrinth of intertwined accounts, missing billions, and misleading financial statements. Alameda Research, once a hedge fund, had operated like a casino funded by customer deposits. Every loan, every high-risk bet, every donation Sam made came from money he didn't technically own.
The U.S. Department of Justice charged him with fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering. The indictment described how Sam moved billions of dollars from FTX accounts into Alameda, covering up losses, masking transactions, and creating an illusion of solvency that fooled the world. Courtrooms became theaters of revelation. Employees testified about secret spreadsheets, late-night phone calls, and Sam's casual attitude toward billions in other people's money. One executive described how Sam would shrug and say, "It's fine. We can fix this later." To the public, it seemed inconceivable. The man who spoke endlessly about ethics, philanthropy, and effective altruism was at the center of one of the biggest financial frauds in history. During pre-trial hearings, journalists scrutinized his life. The endless interviews, the casual clothes, the vegan burritos, the barefoot walking, all a part of the image Sam carefully curated. It had convinced investors, celebrities, and regulators that he was different, trustworthy, even moral. But the trial revealed the mask behind the charisma. Sam was not a hero. He was not entirely evil. He was human, brilliant, naive, reckless, and utterly captivated by his own illusion of invincibility. And the broader lesson was clear. The crypto world had relied on trust, without verification. Investors had handed over their money to a young man with little oversight, attracted by his persona and promises of innovation. The lack of regulation, combined with the digital nature of the assets, had created a perfect storm. In the courtroom, Sam's defense argued that he did not intend to defraud anyone. He claimed poor judgment, complex financial structures, and a failure of communication were to blame. But prosecutors painted a starkly different picture: deliberate misuse of billions of dollars, sophisticated concealment of losses, and a man aware that he was misleading everyone from employees to investors to the public. Media coverage was relentless. Headlines ran, "The rise and fall of crypto's white knight from billionaire genius to defendant. FTX collapse. Who's to blame?"
For the public, it was a story of human ambition meeting human weakness. For the crypto industry, it was a wake-up call. Decentralization and blockchain technology cannot protect investors from mismanagement, greed, or deception. As trial proceedings unfolded, Sam's fortune dwindled to virtual nothing. The lavish penthouses, private jets, and political influence could not be seized quickly enough to satisfy the billions lost by customers. He was no longer the boy genius hailed in magazine covers. He was a symbol of caution, and yet, some still clung to the idea of Sam as a tragic figure. A man who tried to do good, got caught in his own hubris, and destroyed not only his empire but the trust of an entire industry. Thank you for watching.